Hello everyone, this is David, and this is a quick video on how to cite tables and figures in APA. Let's take a look. This information comes from the APA 7th edition, and it is covered in Chapter 7 of that edition called General Guidance on Tables and Figures. The first thing to notice is that APA divides these illustrations into two categories. Category 1 is the category of tables. They define tables as information that is displayed in columns and rows. And that is distinguished from the other very broad category of figures. And figures basically includes everything but tables, everything but information that is displayed in columns and rows. And that includes graphs, most popular, charts, drawings, infographics, maps, plots, photographs, anything else is what is categorized in APA as a figure. So let's go through. As we talk about these, keep in mind this important point, that you cite tables and figures in exactly the same way in APA. First, we're going to cover what is called in-text usage. That is when you, in your writing, in your paper, simply refer to information from a table or figure in the body of your text. Here you see this person is discussing infant mortality, and this student draws information from this source right here, Infant Mortality 2018. This is a table. And so it is cited just as you would cite any other source in APA with an in-text citation. Here you see it, Infant Mortality 2018, and a reference citation. Here you see it down at the bottom. So that's the first use, where you're simply referring to it as you would any other source that supports the point that you're making, and as a result, you find only an in-text citation and a reference citation is sufficient. Now that is completely different from the other uses that we're going to cover now. These uses are reproduced tables and figures. In other words, you're no longer referring to the information in the table or figure. You're actually bringing the table or figure into the body of your document. There are two ways you can do that. You can reprint it. And reprinting it simply means that you copy and paste it. You take a screenshot, or you actually go Control A, copy all, Control V, paste all. Or you can also recreate the table and figure, where you go in, use Word's table creation tool or Word's graph creation tool, or use some other graphing machine, and you feed your app the information from the table and basically create a new looking table using the same information. Now, whether you copy and paste that table or figure, or whether you create that table and figure using the original source's data, you must do all of these three things. So in a way, you don't really have to distinguish between reprinting or creating, because they're all going to contain these same three elements. Let's clarify all of this by taking a look. Here is an example of a reprinted table. This means that I found the table and I copied it. I took a screenshot of it, or I copied and pasted it directly as I found it. That is called a reprinted table. But notice, I gave it my own number, table number 1. I gave it my own caption, U.S. per capita consumption of oranges in pounds. Then comes the reprinted table, including any notes that were included with this table. And then below the reprinted table comes my note. Since it is copied and pasted, I use the word from, then the title, the authors of the original table, and notice that it's different than a reference citation. This is not a reference citation. You put the title first, and then the authors with their first initials, then last name. And then the rest of it is generally the same. The title of the publication, the page number, and the retrieval information. And then comes that copyright statement. And all copyright statements are the same. Copyright, then you put in the year, and then you write in the word by, and then you put in who holds the copyright. So that is a reprinted table. I copied and pasted it. Now, here's an example of a figure that I recreated using the data I got from the original source. In other words, I use my table creation tool. I use my graph creation tool. I use my infographics creation tool. The only thing I used from the original was its data. But notice it's the same. You must have a number at the beginning, and that is your number. You ignore the original number. You must have your own caption, and this caption must adequately explain what is in the table or figure without the reader having referred to the body of the text. And that caption is italicized, you note. Then comes the actual table or figure, recreated, and then comes the note. The only difference in this note than in the previous one is because I recreated the table, I no longer use the word from, I use the phrase adapted from. And then everything else is the same. The title, in this case it doesn't have an author, then the retrieval information, and then the copyright. Copyright year, by, copyright holder. Some helpful hints. Basically the same information is used in a PowerPoint or a slide presentation, except it goes at the bottom of the slide. Then you want to be sure that all elements in a table or figure are labeled, and you can see that these are clearly labeled, all the columns and the rows, clearly labeled parts of the figure. You want to use only sans serif. Those are smooth fonts. Use only sans serif fonts in figures. And then, again, we've already covered this, the table and figure should be complete within itself. It must be able to be looked at by the viewer, the reader, and the reader must understand everything that that table or figure says without reference to the text. Okay, here's a tutorial on how to create and insert your own tables, and I'm working on a video on how to do it for your graphs as well. Okay, that is it. Hope this video helps, and I will also put a link where you can download this resource right here. Okay, talk to you later.